All right, what's up, you guys? So today we are back with the Mind Muscle Media. We switched that over. I was about to say bodybuilding podcast. It's just me and Dom today because of scheduling. We couldn't get the other fellas on. This was a little personal for me, so I appreciate doing that solo. What's up, Dom? How are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me, Lou.
Of course, bro. I appreciate you a lot. Obviously, you've done a lot for me. I've actually been wanting to do this with you, but I know you're a super busy guy. Let's go and start off just because what got you into bodybuilding and fitness in general and all that good stuff.
Well, first of all, you always give me a lot of props on these podcasts, man, and I just want to be like upfront and I get a lot just as much out of helping you, bro. You're a special athlete. I've always believed in you, and I'm kind of known for being authentic. It gets me in a lot of trouble, right? I got quite a few haters, and is what it is, but like it's something I look forward to every week, working with athletes like yourself. And you and I have gotten very close. We've shared our faith together, and like we talk about often, God brings us together to make each other better, man. And there's quite a few things that you help me with as well. So just understand like that feeling is absolutely mutual, and I'm very grateful that you always give me the credit where you think I deserve it. So, but in the end, you do all the work. The athletes do all the work. So all I can do is direct it and believe in them and keep them in check, right?
Yeah. And we keep going back and forth, man, but I wouldn't be in the position I am if it wasn't for you. So and I'm not saying that for the camera. Even when me and you stopped working together, I don't know, I would send still people to you because how much I knew you did for me. I will still talk like how much you had done for me. Our disagreement, like I've told everybody, always just came to what happened in prep, and I let my own thoughts get the worst of me. And I let that come out, and I didn't communicate that with you.
It fucking started when I put you on trend, bro.
Yeah,
that's my bad.
That didn't help. That didn't help.
No,
it's not, man. That's something else that me and you have talked about. I've even talked about some of the other guys. Like that's something I don't want to use next prep because I want to avoid that. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. No, intrusive thoughts they call it. But yeah, bro, pound up, no homo. Give me a pound. Okay, but I got into bodybuilding. I was playing football. And I was kind of undersized, I never really got to play. And I broke my foot fucking around. I was jumping off a wall. I grew up in Hawaii, and there's this wall in Waikiki. And I was talking to this chick, and I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to be cool, and I jumped, and I missed the wave. And I cracked my metacarpal, which is, the top little part. Mm-hmm. And I kept jumping, dude, and it just got worse. And yeah, it was just this kind of like horrible situation, but it became a blessing. And, it was either I can carry bags around on the field for my boys and my team, or I can go to the weight room and get bigger, right? So I opted out to go into the weight room and train and, follow the program. I didn't know what I was doing, but my dad saw I liked it. He bought me a bunch of books. And one of the first books he bought me was the Joe Weider Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. And it had all the old school guys. And Joe Weider, for those of you who don't know the history of bodybuilding, Joe Weider is the godfather of bodybuilding. He built Arnold. He shipped Arnold in. He shipped in Franco. For whatever reason, him and his brother had a lot of money, and they loved bodybuilding. They wanted to make it a mainstream, like kind of Super Bowl event. And so he would bring in like ballers. And the only way to get paid until the early 2000s was to be a Weider athlete. Those are the guys we grew up watching in Flex Magazine and Muscle Mag. They had specific contracts. And before YouTube and IG and the internet, really before America Online, man, like we had magazines, and that's how everybody was kind of looking at it. I'm 37 years old. So I've been bodybuilding since 1998. 1999 was the first time I did a bodybuilding workout. I bought my first muscular development in 2000, and it was a Atlas picture of Jay Cutler in black and white, bro. It was just sick. It was like the Arnold, and bro, it was sick, man. It's so funny. I still have those magazines, but I carried that one around with me for so long that I lost the cover, bro. Like the cover is covers. I remember what it looks like though. And it's like actually on his wall, where, you watch the Jay Cutler podcast, you can see the one that I had. He has it framed behind him, every cover he's ever on. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of fell in love with the knowledge of it. It was it's one of those things where I enjoyed just trying different workouts and reading about what this person did. And I probably took a little more of an aesthetic approach to it from the get-go. I still train in the pyramid system. Those of you who train sports, we would max out. And, if you're in a 500-pound club, you get a t-shirt, up to 1,000 pounds. So it's kind of a thing. And I went to an all boys Catholic high school, and we're really into sports, and, there's nothing to do. There's no chicks to hit on. So kind of hones you, focuses it. We would pray before we play, and we had mass, and real tight knit group of guys. But yeah, no, I found my identity in training. And, in retrospect, I spent a lot of time training and bettering myself and building myself up because I didn't have enough value for myself. I had a late start in childhood. I didn't get to go to preschool, some other things. But yeah, dude, I was retarded until probably like second grade, right? And so yeah, I would read a lot. I would really try and better myself. And I had an overbearing father who really got a lot out of training in sports. And so he kind of exposed us to everything. And as I got stronger, my confidence went up. I got better at wrestling. I got better at football. I got better at all sports. My grades got better, right? So bodybuilding to me was life, man.
That's awesome, dude. How many shows total have you done under your belt at this point?
It 2011, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I feel like 11,
Okay.
12. Yeah.
Okay. And I know you had gotten a couple of overalls. One was like that Sean Ray Classic, correct? Was that your last one?
Yeah, that was a good one, man. That was kind of on a whim. I'd already won 2 overalls that year in Arizona shows, and these whatever Tucson, Felicia Romero, which is the big November show.
Yeah.
That was always a good show because it was a week out from nationals. So you'd always have a fucking baller trying to come into Arizona and get an easy qualification. And then I fucking show up, right? I always got off on that shit. I'm going to take your shit. You know what I mean? And, but it didn't really, I don't know. I went to Easterns and I ended up taking 5th in a pretty stacked class. I had rhabdo. That was when I really got sick. My colon was pretty messed up. I had to get my gallbladder out and just stuff I didn't know. But that's like the closest I've ever gotten to nationals. I've gone to nationals with lots of clients, gone to Olympia with lots of clients, as a body worker, as a coach, different levels of competition. I've been there, but 11 shows and 3 overalls.
Okay. And when was the last one that you had done? Like year was this 2016, 15, or
No, the last show I did was in 2021, I think. That was Eastern USA's. Yep.
Okay.
As a light heavyweight.
Because I was like, I think I bumped into your profile was around that time. Was it the Sean Ray overall? I think it was like some kind of
Sean
overall.
Ray was 19. Sean Ray was 19. Yeah,
okay,
then that was
sense.
overall in classic. And that was a pretty stacked class. Like Sean is a really good promoter. He gets a lot of hate, but he's a great businessman, bro. The fucking trophy was 36 pounds, bro. 36 pounds. I had to weigh it out because I had to bring it back home, bro. I had to get another bag. You know what I mean? Shit. And he gave us $500 Amazon cards. We got S-Force watches. Dude, we got the Haka and the Lays, man. Like it was a pretty big deal. And back home in Hawaii, it's people don't know this. It's a great place to compete. It's a very tight-knit group. And it's been a pretty hardcore scene since I was since I started training. So my first gym was Gold's Gym, Honolulu, Hawaii. And my original coach, still a very close friend. He actually helped me with the last prep because I didn't have anyone else to help. He jumped in and helped me dial in. But he helped bury my dad, bro. He trained my mom and my stepdad. Like, very close family friend, a beautiful human. His name is Chris Faudo. And those of you old school guys, you might remember the Hawaiian Hurricane. But he made Asian bodybuilding happen. Asian people are obsessed with muscle. And they would hire him, pay him. His fee was $10,000, but he would come as a guest poser, as an amateur. And keep in mind, this guy beat Chris Cormier when he was young. He beat Jose Raymond when they're younger. He beat Rich Gaspari. There's quite a bit of acclimates my dude racked up before he even turned pro. But he was a natural bodybuilder, and that was what was cool about it. Natural guy. So he ended up winning his card eventually, like 20 years later, at the 2007 Team U. And Team U used to be drug tested. So if you win, you go piss in the cup, you take some blood, right? And you got to pay for it. But anyway, my boy won the overall. You had to win the overall. It's where John Meadows won his card. Eventually, in 2013, 14 or something, I saw John win his card there. But you have to win the overall. And what's really cool about that, worth mentioning, my boy Chris Faudo won the overall as a welterweight. So that's 167 and a quarter. He got the
Wow.
overall. I've never even seen that happen
That's
in real
tiny.
life. It was
Yeah, that's
fucked
crazy.
up. No, he was huge.
Yeah. No, I
Huge,
mean
bro.
weight wise, it's tiny, but he must have obviously looked way
No,
different than what he
bro,
actually weighed.
he was
Yeah.
massive. And the thing about my boy, he really took it seriously. He believed that he was an entertainer, and he put a lot into his routine. He put a lot into the training, and he was just the most positive, loving human, fantastic Christian, and I was very fortunate to get brought up by him, and still be in his grace.
That's awesome, dude. Is that was that, I'm assuming he was probably one of your biggest like mentors or biggest
Yeah,
people you look
no,
up
I'm
to?
only, you give me props for my skills as a trainer, as a therapist, but I'm only what I am because of him, man. I got to come up around it. And back then, it was like 1999, 2000. I started training in 2001, and I trained with him throughout high school. He'd help me with football training, wrestling training, but he always had kind of a bodybuilding feel to it, form and technique, tempo, program design, ergonomics, right? He's very technical with his design. And yeah, we didn't have a lot of money. He used to charge $80 a session. And back then that was quite a bit of money, bro. $80 was a lot in
Yeah.
2099, and especially for my dad. We already paid for gym memberships, but man, I remember buying my own gym membership a few years later. Dude, my pops would fucking take it away from me when I'd fuck up. So I'd run all the way down there and they'd be like, bro, we can't let you in. Your dad called. So first chance I got, bought my own, bro. It was $300, dude. But if you break that down, it's $24.99 a month. It's
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, so things have come a long way. But he would train me and my brother, my little brother, who was like 2.5 years younger. We both wrestled, played ball. We did karate, judo, all that stuff. And he would train us 2 for 1. And me and my brother would work out. We'd always fight, but we always train hard. And yeah, no, so we only got to do a few sessions every so often when my dad had extra money. And we would just practice the routines and kind of build that system. He gave us the basics, but he did a lot where he'd come around and help us. Hey, put that weight back. Go grab this. Hey, man, that looks like garbage. You need to do that better. Put your chest up, right? It's just constant. So anytime I went in there, unless it was Sunday, he was there helping me anyway, right? He's a good
Yeah.
dude.
That's funny because that makes sense how you are when you've trained me.
I
You're
know.
always so on top of
I
my
know.
head, my
I know.
posture, which all pays off. It all makes such a huge difference. Like people all of a sudden when I started training with you were like, you've gotten so much bigger. And I tell people it's so weird to me that I did it on the scale, but my
Mm,
muscle changed like the look. It like started getting rounder. It started like so I'm like, I don't know what he's doing to me. I'm like, but I'm
yeah.
not necessarily that much bigger. My body just did this crazy recomp where it's like
Right.
I don't even
Right.
look the same at that weight anymore.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
kind of my style, man. If you go through like my archive, a lot of those people are the same weight, but it's like a night and day. It looks like you covered a year, in a few
Yeah.
months. Obviously, I got some really cool tech, but even before that, I could do it without the tech. It's more just like figuring out where
Manipulating.
someone's weak in, and then focusing on the weak points. Because a lot of aesthetic weaknesses are going to be functional weaknesses. So when you address that functional, and a lot of functionals are okay, you can't pull your shoulder down. It's not just your shoulder; there's a bunch of pieces there. It could even be your wrist. So I over the years, I've really come to enjoy the puzzle of it and kind of the game. It's a game, right? Just kind of shifting this around. It's a memory game sometimes, right? And
Mhm.
it's basically a puzzle. And you got to find the corner pieces, work from the in out. But especially when you got someone that's into it like yourself, who's like, you're a perfectionist, you're a very passionate individual, you love the learning of it. A lot of us in our personality types, we get complacent, bored, and we might even get in trouble if we're not being challenged and not being progressed, right? So,
Yeah.
um, we talk about this often together, but to me, a lot of imbalances are some sort of trauma, whether it's a trauma where you fell on your hand and broke your foot, or it's trauma you have a head injury, or if it's an emotional trauma, not being able to express yourself. I know for myself, I always wondered why I love training so much. In high school, I was a command sergeant major in high school. I was decent on the football team. I played with all the same boys for years and years. We all had our different tables. I was honor roll student at one point, so that had a table. ROTC had a table, right? Whatever. Wrestlers had a table. I didn't know where to sit, and I always felt kind of weird. I just kind of rotated. So I ended up kind of like eating my lunch by myself in a locker room, just like trying to get a break or whatever, not having that pressure. And then I realized the gym was open. And yeah, so that's how I started really training, bro. Dude, by the time I was a senior, I had all the boys rolling, bro. Like our whole team, everybody was training, bro. And I wouldn't train them, but they were
Yeah.
doing my workout. You know what I'm saying? And I got
You're
my
leading the
workouts
way.
from
Yeah.
Chris. Yeah, from the magazines. And I would just tempo and tempo and tempo. But I found a lot of relief in it. As a kid, even to adulthood, I spent a lot of Friday and Saturday nights by myself in the gym, just kind of working through my shit, you know what I'm saying? And you don't really realize you have trauma until you start having to deal with it, or until things your crutch gets
Until it
taken
gets too
away.
bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, bro, it gets real loud, and some of that too is like, okay, wait, like, all right, I need some faith. And I had a really important mentor bring me into TG recent, like in the last maybe 3-4 years ago. He brought me in, and he kind of invited me to Bible study. And at the time, I was just trying to fit in. I was like, okay, everybody's really happy here, man. Let me try that out, right? Like, I was born and raised Catholic. I got confirmed. I would confirm the other kids. I would write them the letters. I'd hold their hands. I'd cry with them. And so I was pretty hardcore Catholic. But as Catholics, we don't have a strong relationship, a personal relationship with Jesus. So there's nothing really keeping us from doing fucked up shit, right? We just go and reconcile. Hey, like, forgive me for this. Forgive me, Father, I've sinned. And then you would tell me to do like 10 Hail Marys and 20 Our Graces, right? So I go to the gym, like Don John, and I'd be like, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord's grace. So it's like mindless, right? And I would do that shit. And but anyway, yeah, with TG, really helped me kind of hone in. And then when I got really sick before you met me, I got rhabdo, my gallbladder froze up, like the stones I had got lodged in that motherfucker. The bottom part of my liver kind of gave out. My appendix went out. There's a lot of bad stuff, and I really just pushed it. I was eating I was eating kratom, like Skittles and ibuprofen, and I didn't realize it was a problem. So I went through like 240 ibuprofens in like 2 weeks. It was a lot. So yeah, I was like, all right. One of my owners convinced me to walk over to the urgent care, and 20 minutes later, they had an ambulance waiting for me. I didn't have the option. They put me in the ambulance and had a bed set up for me. I spent 10 days in the hospital, and coming out, man, I couldn't poop. My body just wasn't working, and my mind wasn't right, and I wasn't able to train. So I didn't have my therapy. I didn't have my coping mechanism, and it really kind of set me up to progress into what I'm doing now, where I'm able to help someone like you.
Yeah, I mean, you've told me multiple times, and you could tell, man, that you have a lot of knowledge, unfortunately, because of the shit you've been through. It made you go so far into their learning how to fix things because you're like, I don't want to deal with this rest of my life. So, and because a lot of things you had are things that are caused from our lifestyle. So you're very good at seeing them beforehand now, like, all right, let me prevent this. And dude, like what you went through is so crazy to me because I remember the first couple of weeks we weren't like we were close, but you didn't really like open up too much yet. And then all of a sudden, like I want to say maybe a couple months in, you start telling me, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going through all this shit. And he like, not once did I ever see it through you. Not once did you complain. Like, obviously, I don't live with you and shit, but it's like, man, I would be so salty. I'd be so mad. I'd be so
No,
annoyed. Like,
man, it definitely takes a toll on you, and you gotta, like, as a man. We talk about this often. Like, men don't really get a lot of remorse. We don't get a lot of leeway. We're expected to be leaders, especially if you lead your household. There's only a certain amount of vulnerability you can give, right? And then when a client is paying top dollar, like you guys are paying me $2 a minute, sometimes $3 a minute, and it's a discount for what the work is in the market. But I know that's a lot of money, man. Like, so, like, why am I going to take 2 to 5 minutes to talk to you about my problems when I'm here to help you? And a lot of times, how I kind of looked at it was in service is a very strong and noble place to be in. And I used to get a lot out of being in service. Like, I would have this great day, helping all my people, and the gratitude and the love and all that stuff comes back. It's kind of like when you do a show. I saw you go through it, where it's like everybody had Camp Flores shirts on, and people were just supporting you. You feel loved, whether they're not going to be there next year or not. Like, it's quite a bit of a high, especially to be able to feel important and know what the problem is. And if I didn't know, I would tell them I didn't know, but I go figure that shit out. I got people I learned from, and I built quite a network over the last 20 years being a trainer. But the levels I've got to, I mean, some of the clients I've worked to, I pick up their people, and different people were helping them, their coaches. And a lot of times with athletes like yourself, they usually have high-end athletes like yourself usually have a high-end coach, and it lets me see everything that's happening. So I see the workouts, I see the food, I see the gear, I see the techs. And sometimes I get in tight with the coaches, other times I just get to learn. Sometimes I learn what coaches not to work with, right? So it's all for the longevity of the client. When you get into like pro runs and pro cards and shit, it's all fine and dandy. There's a lot more that are being given out. But in the end, like it doesn't do us any good as coaches to get a pro card if you can't compete them as pros. Like going out and getting smoked at a pro, like it takes away your pro status, man. You're nothing. So I don't know. Everything I'm doing is trying to optimize and quantify what else is doing. And if the coach has a plan, I'm going to go with that and make that shit work, right? If coach has no plan, I'm going to fill in the blanks and we'll make that shit happen, right? As long as the client is willing, we hustle and everybody's happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So you've even said it multiple times to me as well about the whole why is it worth running someone down to the ground to get them to that pro card or whatever, and all of a sudden because everything you did, you maximized it all, so you can't do anything anymore really, other than
Yeah,
like make
no, you
things
ran
worse.
out of tricks, huh? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. It's like that's one beautiful thing about everything you do with me, man. Like I've openly spoke about my gear usage. That's like the least I've ever used. Obviously, for me, it was like a hair thing too, where like, hey, let's be cautious
Yeah,
with what you paid for it. But it was
yeah.
like, I don't know, man. Your approach to it all, like the list that you would give me of all these subs I need to take and all this stuff, like Jesus Christ. At first, it's kind of overwhelming, but it's like it all was beneficial to me, and I just wasn't used to having working with somebody that had such an eye to all the details like that. You know what I mean? Because you said
Bro, the
coaches are easy
devil,
prescribed 1,000 milligrams of test, prescribe
right?
300 megs of trend, but not once did I ever see like the subs you gave me on my plans, on the coaches that I worked for
Well,
before.
that's the thing is
So,
like if you really understand, you start getting into the compounds, or maybe you go down the dark side like I did, where things start going bad, your liver fails and whatever. You have to take. There's X amount of things you have to participate in to motherfucking participate, right? So like it doesn't really matter the gear and stuff. It matters how much damage it's doing. So it doesn't. If you put on 30 pounds and lose 35 pounds, what good is that, right? So the goal is to maximize on what you're doing, and when you're on X amount of PEDs, like your nutrient uptake is higher, your enzymes are going to be higher, your anxiety is going to be higher. So you got to take some shit to counteract stuff. Just like you're going to get gyno on tren if you don't take Arimidex, right? Like it is what it is. You can't do Anadrol and D-ball without Arimidex or Novadex. Like you're going to end up with some titties. So it's the same thing. You got to have X amount of milk thistle. You got to do some Tudka. You got to, take X amount of amino acids. You need to be able to sleeping. If you can't sleep, there's lots of things for that. One of our original things was you weren't sleeping. You
I
never
remember
would
that.
sleep.
Yeah.
And we figured it out. We were looking at like Dante Trudeau's protocols, and he was dosing melatonin during the day. I remember you got up to like 60, 70 milligrams of melatonin, which like for you guys watching, the standard dosage is 1 to 3. It's plenty. So when your cortisol gets so high and your melatonin drops, they should be evening each other out. You go during the day, you wake up, throughout the day, there's some stress, cortisol, and then you go to sleep and there's melatonin. And it kind of goes back and forth. This is called your circadian rhythm. So when that circadian rhythm is off, your compensation rate is through the roof. So your body is overprotecting, overreacting. That's where you're going to get sick. That's where you're going to get hurt. And that's kind of what happened to me. I run myself down too much and I kind of just lied to myself. And I got lazy on taking my supplements and it really fucked me up. So most of, like we were saying earlier, most of the advice I'm giving my clients and most of the things I'm doing for you guys, it's stuff I've learned firsthand, like on things not to do. I'm just trying to save you the trouble and make it worth your time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, brother. One thing I love too that you're so different is even the training aspect. Who's the guy, the gentleman you speak of a lot? Charles Pelican? No, or
Charles Poliquin,
Poliquin?
the
Yes,
king.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
the
You
like
can
training
Google
stuff
him.
you had me do, like with the arms and all that, man. It's so
Weird,
crazy. Yeah,
weird.
but it all like, benefited me right away. I would see it literally after our workouts, like a part of my arm, a part of my chest, or something that grew
Yeah,
different,
yeah,
a part of my
yeah.
leg. It's like holy shit, like, and
Shit
I don't.
pops, whether you're on gear or not. And that's the thing. It's like, again, aesthetic follows function. And Charles Poliquin, you guys can Google him. He's a strength sensei. Hey, cut it out. Sorry, my dogs are fucking weird.
You're good.
They hear us talking and they just trying to get
Get all
attention.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah. But no. Charles Poliquin was a strength sensei. He won 160 some odd medals in 20 different sports for the U.S. Olympic team. He was a master diagnostic. And if you watch enough Milos Sarkreev, Milos talks about him all the time. He was a genius at diagnostic. He could watch you walk. He could watch you talk. And he knew what hip was off and what shoulder was off. And then he knew he would release your jaw or something. He'd do some ART on the jaw. And then all of a sudden your ankle would work and then your hip got better. Like he was amazing at it. There's YouTube on it. I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in bodybuilding history, form, and technique, and looking at more of a biohacking approach to training and optimization. Charles Poliquin was the shit. Now, those of you who are trainers, he has certifications. Now, Charles died a while back, but it's still the system, and there's different tiers. These certs cost like $2,000 to $4,000 a pop. And I got a bunch of them when I was working with a good Pelican guy. It was before he got really big. But Charles was in a genius group out here, and I was able to get to know him a little bit. And for a while, we were doing his diagnostics, and we got to work out, train his programs. And there's some pretty specific things in there that you wouldn't think so, but he programmed function for power, for explosiveness, whatever it was. If it was for sport, great. But when he did bodybuilding, say you needed bigger quads, and he would figure out why the quad wasn't big, and say if your knee was valgusing, it goes in, it's pretty common, your foot doesn't work, right? You know, you have that, we all have that, whatever. So he would do X amount of exercise. So like he called it an exercise prescription, exercise RX. And you would do X, Y, and Z, and then go do the major leg press. And fuck, after you did X, Y, and Z, that shit would work. So it's just addressing the weak points, right? It's
kind of what you made me do. My homework, right? It's the stuff you always made me warm up to. All this stuff I was doing with my knee to get it to function correctly and move again.
But that's the thing, right? You got different phases of training. So a lot of us just participate in hypertrophy, which is awesome, dude. Like, let's gas up. Noble's a big gas them up and then train them. But the thing is, there's no recovery, there's no mobility, there's no activation. You're not addressing those weak points. So as you bench press and squat and deadlift, you're so lopsided that eventually your brain just kind of shuts down anyway. In the end, as a coach, it's a nightmare dialing in people who have a lot of imbalances, who have a lot of cortisol. So cortisol comes from faulty movement. It comes from anxiety, kind of comes from bad imbalances, bro. Like, so if your body is on high alert all the time, say your eye doesn't work, your ear doesn't work, your nose, you got plugged nose, bad sinuses, your tongue doesn't work. Now half of your sensory system doesn't work. So you can't smell the fire in your house. You can't hear the bear behind you, right? So everything tunes up. And then when you go to lift weights, if you're off a little, your body reacts to that quite a bit more because it needs to be prepared, right? So what I found is that by doing a little bit of banded distraction for the joint and doing X amount of reps more on one side and, evening things out, when the spine starts working better and gets better feedback, the cortisol is quite a bit less from training. And then we're able to balance out that melatonin. And obviously, figuring out the other stuff in training, it can be pretty complicated depending on the person's personality. But if they have the right personality and they buy into it, it's a pretty damn smooth system. Like, prep is easy, unless you're on the wrong compounds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I got to add, I actually forgot to mention this part as you were talking, bro, because you talk about the falling outs or whatever, and like you tend to come off a little like too honest for people or whatever. Some people just don't like to hear it. But to me, bro, I think that's the only reason why people tend to notice some of your maybe falling outs. Because if you look at it, bro, we all have so many falling outs every year. When I look at my past life, the last like 5 years, I've had so many good friends I would have never thought would have fell out with because of something that happened. You know what I mean? So I think just with you, because you are honest, I think it makes you hurt people's feelings in a way, that some people just want to say shit. But it's funny because a lot of people that knew that I was working with you, like, would still like talk so highly about you. And like, I was about to come talk to you and know somebody that you worked with that I didn't even know. And I was like, oh my God, they talk about you like, like there's nothing there,
And that's the crazy thing too. So like, most of the time people are mad if I used to be really bad at setting boundaries, bro, and I just get fed up and walk away, right? And that's, as I've gotten older, I've learned that's not the best approach to addressing things. One, I'm not going to get what I want. Two, this person's going to be angry. So, learning how to set those healthy boundaries and keep those relationships in place. And like I mentioned earlier, I've struggled with value for myself, depression, probably because I started doing drugs when I was really young. 19 years old. I ran a full cycle, no test, for like 12 months, bro. It was fucked up, dude. I definitely messed myself up. By the time I finally hired somebody to help me, everything was in the floor, bro. It was terrible. So I've had to work my way back out since I was 20, right? So, but most of the people that are truly haters, despise me, would spit on my grave, take a shit on my doorstep, steal my clients, whatever it is. They're really just mad because I won't work with them anymore. A lot of them have to retire after I'm done. And it's really, in the end, I was holding it together, man, whether they want to admit it or not. And I ain't got no hard feelings, man. You want to be like that, cool. I've gotten pretty deep into my faith, and It's something I've had to really work on, is being okay with things that happen and learning from them. But that being said, though, like on a long enough time frame, they all come back, they all apologize. You know, a lot of them, they tell me I was right, and it's like it doesn't really matter. I'd rather be wrong. I'd rather you be. I'm a dick, you know. Fuck, I don't really want to be right, and you can't do it without me, you know. And but that being said, it's like people got to do what they got to do. A lot of times, like somebody's reaction to what you're saying isn't necessarily a reflection of what you're saying. It's a reflection of whatever else is going on in their life. And sometimes it's even because they're so comfortable with me or comfortable with you. They trust you're not going to go anywhere, that they just pop off on you. You get the blunt of it, right? But I don't know. When you know your value and you know what you provide, it's like, all right, you know what? You know, that's too much. I don't appreciate that. You know, you give them a chance. If they can't give them a chance, like it's all good. You know, no one's twisting your arm to be here, right? So I don't know. I hear some pretty hurtful stuff sometimes, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people do support me. I have quite a few clients. I'm a busy trainer, man. I'm very blessed. And you know, some of these falling outs have really taken a toll on my ability to trust and my ability to invest, right? So it does take me a little time to put the extra in, but I'll always give you more than what you pay for. That's my style. I'm a big person that way. But yeah, getting extra time, getting extra help, you know, the phone calls, the extra information, you know, that comes with, like, as you show your loyalty and as you show your progressiveness, man, hard work. Some people can't help it. They just shoot themselves in the toes over and over again. And at some point, you got to kind of look, hey, you know what? That's not worth my extra time. I don't have a lot of time. So I put it in the people that I trust, you know, are going to be able to show a turnaround, or somebody that is going to support my business and support my point of view or whatnot. And you and me are kind of loyal to a fault, where if you don't like somebody, I'm fuck that guy. I'm not going to fuck with that guy. You know, you're the same way. And it's not always the best way to be, but those are the people I definitely like gravitate towards, and I do a lot of extra, right? But you know, in the end, it's like, I don't know, it's a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? Some people, a lot of people, most of the people you interact with are going to need you for a reason. If you're a plumber, they're going to interact with you because they want you to fix their toilet, right? If you're a trainer, they're going to interact with you because they want you to train. They want to win some shit. The minute you don't serve a purpose, now you're not that important, and it is what it is. That's where you have, you know, fallout. Sometimes they can't really admit that, and then they create a problem to justify that fallout, right? We've all been there. We've done it too, right? You know, and I'm telling you, you know, our industry is crazy because everybody's on steroids, and a lot of it is underground labs, bro. It's not regulated. So who knows what we're really taking until you get to a high level, right? It took me a long time to get a good connect, to get a good PA, to get a good understanding of how to balance it. You're the same way. Your shit is pretty recent, man. You got a great connect now, but man, you got screwed over. You lost all your hair because of it, right? You know what I mean? So, and it was someone you trusted, someone you loved. You know what I mean? So, and God knows, he probably didn't even know either at the time. Who knows, right?
It's not even the main dad. It's like I just look at it like he didn't do it maliciously. As stupid as it
No,
sounds, like, you know what I mean? Some
no,
people just do things out of selfishness, and it's, I don't view it as in like you were trying to hurt me. You're just kind of that selfish that you didn't really think about your actions type deal, you know?
right? Yeah,
So
so
that's how I
like
look at that. But
a reason or a season or a lifetime. And I get a lot of people that are more than a reason, it's a season. I do have a few dogs though that are a lifetime, you know, and I'm very fortunate to have those few and to cherish them and for them to support me. And I'm very honored that you're one of those guys, man.
I appreciate you, man. And I guess to give more details about what we were talking about earlier with the whole trend thing about we don't want is as I felt like that's what me personally, things changed in my head. Like for me before, it used to be, oh, I would take trend, it would make me hornier and make me fucking want to look at women differently and do all these negative stuff. Like I knew it right away. And now because I feel like I've been able to hone that in, it does almost like this ego thing that like it makes me think like how I used to think just selfishly. And that's why I'm like, I don't want to use trend. I would prefer not to because that's how I did let the seed of other people's opinion of what I was looking like grow into more. And
Yeah,
that's just like, yeah, man. It's just I understand where the drugs can play a huge factor when it comes to the mental, the emotional, the people don't take enough time off to let their bodies just fucking neutralize again. Their hormones come back to baseline.
right.
Yeah, dude.
No, you know, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, gear always amplifies your natural personality, right? If you're a pretty chill guy, like you don't have to worry about it. But if you have some like trauma that you're hiding and things you're having to control. You get irritable. Like, man, that gets pretty crazy when you're on enough stuff, right? And granted, we're pretty minimal. I didn't know you'd have that reaction. It's just kind of standard protocol. Like you throw trending 6 weeks out, right? It gives you a
Yeah.
little harder of a look. But you live and learn, and I'm grateful that we learned not to fuck with that.
I
Now
mean,
me
dude,
on the other hand,
honestly,
I fucking love
but
trend, bro.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
no,
absolutely love it.
it's obviously does the work. It does the magical stuff. It does results there. But for me, like if I'm being honest, like I said, that's where I did notice things kind of did start changing with me. But then also at the
Mm.
same time, I feel like I let some of the pressure of like just shit that I didn't even have to be overthinking about the competition and all that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we had worked so hard to build up for like a years. I feel like I started overthinking that part of it too,
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
again communicating and that's what
I mean,
I
it's
was so good at in the beginning with you was always communicating and you were always good at like getting me back on track, clearing my mind. Like that's why our friendship built up so fast. Is you were there for me. We
right.
obviously talk a lot about religion. You helped me in so many ways. I've talked to you about my trauma, my history, what things I've dealt with. Uh, I mean, so obviously this just sounds like I'm bragging about you, man. But I usually done so
No,
much for
no,
me that I can't ever say
no.
enough. I always told people like I said I wouldn't have been in this position, and then this injury, I feel as stupid as it sounds, I think it happened for a couple reasons because I am a very prideful person that I think sometimes unless my back is against the wall, I won't budge,
Bro,
and because
amen, amen, amen to that. At least and like going even further, bro. Like in the faith, as a denominational Christian, something I've very struggled with is accepting God's plan. Like at one point I was pretty salty, I was pretty angry, I was jealous. I was it's kind of a why me victim mentality, man. I never did anything to deserve any of that shit. And but in the end, you look at it, he's trying to make you better. I just got back from a trip. I know it's our next question, the clients I've worked with and whatnot, but
yeah, go
I
into it,
work
go
with
into it, yeah.
I work with my boy Mohammed Shaban, and I've worked with hundreds of pros, right? I got all the way up to the Dragons Lair and Flex Lewis. I had, quite a few Olympia contenders, you know what I mean? Like, so if you name them, I probably fucked with them. But Shaban is one of my last ones, and he's a dear friend of mine. He's Muslim, so it's even more special. So Muslims and Christians are kind of at war, bro. Like in the Quran, like it's kind of stated to like kill Christians. That's
Mm.
that's what Muhammad's coming back to do. It's fucked up. But that being said, Muhammad has always talked to me about faith and always been very godly and very, very almost Christian to me. But anyway, he told me something this last weekend. I was hanging out with him and Charles Glass and Chris Psycho Lewis. I was running the current to train these guys. Muhammad's getting ready for the Arnold. He's definitely going to be in my predictions. I'm going to win your guys' money, bro, straight up. But anyway, he told me that, the reason why I've had troubles and why might have a harder life is because God cares about me. And if God didn't care, he wouldn't step in and intervene. You know what I mean? I'd have an easy life, a fulfilling life. And after it's done, that's it. Right. So it really makes a lot of sense, And I told you another time years ago, we were getting ready for Chicago and we got smoked. We took fifth. We thought we were going to win, but we got smoked. He was too little, probably baby Mo. He was 221, shredded, beautiful physique, big legs. And he still had some hair, right? Whatever. But anyway, we got smoked. And before that, I was talking to him on the phone. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to church this week. I'll pray that we do good." He goes, "No, no, no. Pray to God, thanks, right? Pray him thanks." And I go, "Oh, I don't think it works that way." And I quoted some Bible quotes like, "Asking you shall receive, have faith and God will take care of you." He's like, "No, I get it. But like, it's like you, bro. If you came out here to California and kept working on me and I never said thank you, would you want to keep coming?" And I was like, "Nah, probably not." And he goes, "See, God's the same way. Pray him thanks and maybe he'll give us something more," right? It was pretty funny, dude. Like, never thought of it like that. But it's much simpler. And but yeah, no, my point is like, those of us going through challenges and whatnot, it's like it's God directing us, it's God saving us, it's God opening up new doors that are better for us. And we have to be able to trust that plan and go with it and be able to fulfill his will, right? So and faith isn't for everybody, but I share it quite a bit when I'm on these podcasts and I use it as a platform to be able to bring more people into it because it helped me so much. It really did. It saved my life.
And
And
that's honestly something I want to get better at, bros. I've always kind of held back because I feel like I don't want to make people uncomfortable because I've noticed sometimes it does make people uncomfortable talking about
yeah,
Christianity, faith.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm always just kind of like the nice guy where like I'd rather not.
No,
But
no,
and like
and and that is proper. We're all brought up to not
Mhm.
talk about politics, not talk about religion, not talk about personal shit, right? Don't air
Yeah,
your
but you're
dirty
right.
laundry.
He's done so much for you. It's hard not to, bro. Like that's how I feel
Well,
sometimes. But it's like I'm like, ah,
well, as
like
a Christian, let me give you even more of a mind fuck here, okay? Like Matthew 16:13 or some shit like that. Matthew something. Matthew 43, I think it is. I'll send it to you after this. But God hates cowards, bro. And when he's talking about that, you start Googling that shit and you look it up in all the references. He's talking about you not professing your faith, you standing by idly while your boy cheats on his wife. You know what I mean? You're a coward, and God hates cowards. So in order not to be coward, you have to profess and proclaim. That is actually our call, our purpose. Like my calling is a coach, a fitness body worker. I'm saving people from the dark side. I'm bringing people out of the dark side. I'm helping them fulfill their goals, regain their love for themselves, whatever it is I'm doing. That's my calling, right? I'm really good at it. That's what I chose to pursue. And that's what I put all my time into as an adult. But our purpose is to bring more soldiers to the army, to save more souls. How much do I have to hate somebody to not save them from a lifetime of eternity of damnation, right? So that being said, even if I don't like somebody, I'm still going to talk to them about it. I'm still going to give them a hug. Like it's really helped with the forgiveness part and why I can be okay with different things that are happening. You know what I mean? It's I'm not going to let it consume me. And if they
mhm.
ever want, to go to church with me, I will go with open arms and I'll buy them breakfast afterwards, right?
No, that's awesome, brother. That's why like another part why I think, like I said, you reinforced me so much in my thinking, my thought process. I might not speak openly about my Christianity faith, but I know anyone that knows me personally, I'm very much like about certain values, certain like holding things back, being, I've changed a lot of ways of my thinking because it did hurt my adult life. It
Well,
did,
let me highlight that a little bit. Luis didn't even jerk off for like a year, bro. It was hilarious, man. Like, do you remember that time he finally broke? You're
did
like
you
all
touch about my
embarrassed. You're like, dude, it was
imagination?
so quick. But he didn't watch no porn. It was good, man.
Yeah,
Like, but
yeah, yeah.
no, Lou actually got me into my faith a lot more. It's good to be around other brothers who share that love and who share that pain, man. And not to be cliche or nothing, but Jesus didn't come out down here to save the rich. He didn't come down here to save the fun and the cool. He came down for the broken. He came down for the weak. He's washing prostitutes' feet, man. He's healing people with severe diseases. That's the people he's after, man,
Mhm.
So for whatever it went through, like we probably had great childhoods compared to the kid who got sold as a sex slave, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
it doesn't mean that we didn't have our own shit, right? So yeah, the faith is something that we have in common, and it makes us stronger athletes. It makes us stronger teammates because we can take the bad stuff and roll with it and turn it into something positive. Jesus has our backs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go into that Arnold predictions real quick since we were just finished talking about
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shabbat.
Arnold,
So
Arnold. Okay. So
yeah, we'll just do the Arnold, Ohio.
Hadi just got here, bro.
Mhm.
So it's lights out if
It's
Hadi
on.
comes in on
It's
point.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, based off of his history and competition history, his normal conditioning, it's going to be Hadi all day. But if Hadi comes in off, who knows, man? He's a little weird. He's trying a lot harder than he normally is. So,
Mhm.
in my personal experience, sometimes when you try harder, it gets worse. But based off right now, it'll be Hadi, Samson. It's going to be Roth, probably third if he comes in full enough. But Hadi, Samson, Roth, and then I'm calling Shaban for fourth, and then Hollingshead for fifth. Now, thing about Shaban, y'all gonna laugh at me, all right? Listen, I watched this fool eat 10 egg whites and 60 grams of carb or 60 grams of rice 5 times a day. He would make me food, but he would eat that shit with a cucumber or a lemon or some shit. And he's waking up in the morning full as fuck at 2:42. Shaban is 5'7". He says he's 5'8", but he's 5'7", maybe 5'6 and a half. I'm definitely taller than that fool. But bro, dwarfs me, bro. I mean, it's pretty next level. He has a weird proportion.
Well,
He
that picture he
filtered.
posted with the vacuum. I don't think I've ever seen him
Listen,
that small of
man,
a
he
waist
worked
on
hard
there.
on that. Like him and I
Yeah.
were working really hard on that for years, but he had like a pelvic floor issue. He couldn't really like kind of hold his fart. He must have just farted wherever he wanted. He's gonna laugh when he sees this, but he had no muscle in there in that pelvic floor. That transverse abdominis was not working, and he's very thick up top, so he's kind of a neck breather. He had a lot of neck problems. Even when I went out there, he had a herniated disc. Everything was in the C spine. Everything had gone up to the C spine. So that's what I was there working on him and getting him some space for. But you know, I have some pretty cool tech. And by the time I left, he said he felt great. I checked in on him. He's like, they're killing it. My goal for that project was to more give him some space to really do what he does, man. He was kind of stuck. And he has a lot of support, man. Charles Glass trains him for free 3 days a week. Chris Cycle trains him 3 days a week for free. Chris Cycle Lewis built Andrew Jack. Ain't no joke. Everybody believes in him. Andrew Wu holds quite a few Olympias, and he takes care of Shaban for free. So we all believe in him, man. He's a wonderful human, and he's probably the hardest worker in the industry. I've worked with a lot of guys on the top level, and no one works like Shaban. And he'd be ready to do it again over and over again every day if I needed him to.
That's awesome, man. I honestly, I'm rooting for him. I'm gonna be watching very closely now because now that you're working with him, I'm gonna hopefully see him do some damage.
He's keeping it on the low, bro. So
yeah.
he doesn't want to be judged
much.
before.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
well, so what happens is we see Rafael right now, and he looks awesome. And then when he goes on stage, he looks worse. Even though he might be better, it fucks up your placing, bro. You know what I mean? So he's done enough. He's taken second enough times. And granted, this is only like maybe his ninth or 10th pro show, 8th to 9th or something like that. But he's won 2 shows. He's taken 7th 4 times. His ratio is 50% top 2. You know what I'm saying? Which is really hard to do, but he doesn't get any props. No one talks about him. He's still kind of a youngin', and you know, for a while he was dwarfed by Ramy being from Egypt. Then he was dwarfed by Hassan being from Egypt. He's beaten both of those guys, bro. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, he's the next guy up. Egypt is a huge market. So, you know, to me, I think he's kind of the next biggest thing, bro. People don't even know. But anyway, yeah, and he's so fresh, man. Doesn't have a ton of injuries. Most of his problems are coming from not knowing what he's doing and just learning as he goes, just like us. But you and me have been bodybuilding forever, bro. He's been bodybuilding for 7 years, 8 years, maybe, like tops. It's not long, you know?
Well, I mean, I've been bodybuilding since 2016 is what I consider my bodybuilding when I started taking it serious. So I'm 8 years.
Right. Yeah. So but again, to me, you're one of those prodigies too, man. I've always said that. You don't believe me, but you have a lot for the little that you've done, you know?
Yeah. No, I feel like I've done a good at the beginning of my own and managing and like build up my business and being good at like building up that community, which I think now has paid off for me because now I've consistently kept the clientele like 30, 40 clients the last like 3 years. Online clients for the most part. I know you've always given me mad credit for that too. And that's honestly one of the comments I remember from when we first met. As you said, a lot of your guys have like this kind of like certain little parts that look like me or they pose like me or this and that. You know, they all have like these. And that's what you told me. That's what you could tell you get that involved with your people as they start having like these attributes of you. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, any coach, any high level coach that can reproduce the work, that's where it's at, man. Like it really is. So if you can reproduce it consistently, this guy knows something, whether it's a consistent shitty look or a consistent great look, it doesn't really matter. They're doing something, right? So a lot of times you can tell which coaches are good because, you know, their guys are happy. Their guys are put together. They're not having all these problems. You know, people aren't leaving over and over. There's not this crazy cycle of leaving, right? And at the high level, like they're not very loyal, man. They're just all over the place. And that's another thing I really appreciate about guys like Shaban is he stays with Wu. He stays with Charles. Bringing Chris in was a big thing, but Charles and Chris were Charles trained Chris back in his day. You know, he was part of the Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, Gold's Gym Venice group. Like they ruled Golds, right? It was the shit. And they, you know, Sean Ray would come and train with them sometimes, or Melvin Anthony, whatever, right? But it was really Chris Cormier, Flex Wheeler, and Chris and another guy, Rico, who is actually pretty big. He's on like kind of the Dennis James podcast sometimes. You'll see him. And you know, whenever you watch that shit, they're always talking shit about the old days. They all would just travel together. Well, they're all Weider athletes. And they would go to Weider and be like, hey, I need some money. And Weider would like, take your clothes off. Let me see your legs. Show me your black double. And it's like the stories are all the same. It's fucking hilarious, you know? Funny, and then Reader would be, I'll give you $4,000 a month. Get out of here, you know?
That's so crazy, dude.
But yeah, no, wow. But okay.
Does anyone know where the money came from? Like what exactly is or family?
I'm sure you could look it up. But at one point, he owned all the magazines. And a page of the magazines in RX, and according to my guys I watch in RX Muscle, John Romano, and Dave Palumbo, they said one page of advertising was $20,000, and you could sell it in segments. So if you ever picked up a muscular development, so that was before the internet. That
Yeah.
was before all that. So that was the way we were buying shit. I remember ordering shit off of Napster in the back of the magazine, you know, like trying to get steroids and shit and to get intercepted, dude. Like I know it was awful. But yeah, no, you could buy like Cialis, you could buy Viagra. Like there was no internet, man. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. That's, that's like I missed that era, unfortunately. I came like shortly after the when pro hormones started kind of getting big. Like one stops for selling the pro hormones, the all
Oh
the
yeah.
nutrition places. You know, I
No,
have like so
that
many
was a
clients
good
are getting
time too.
gyno and shit like that, and I'm like,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
am I
No,
getting?
no, no. I love fucking Superdraw, man. That's where Halo came from, man. We all taken Halo in the last week. But it was originally a pro hormone. Superdraw was a hormone. When I was in high school, Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa were setting records, 70 plus home runs. Come to find out, Sammy Sosa was on M1T, which is a designated oral steroid now. Mark McGuire was on 1AD, oxandrolone or some shit, like basically Anavar. It all started. They used to sell that shit at GNC, bro. You know?
Wow.
So wasn't always like taboo, man. I remember going to Max Muscle and getting my 18-year-old friend. I was 17 at the time, and he went in there and straight up bought me fucking Anavar. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Like, yeah, I bought him a can of Chew or something, and he bought me a fucking bottle of Anavar, bro, from GNC. You know?
That's
Oh,
so wild, dude.
it's wild, bro.
Let's see. I guess, do you want to cover any more, like any athletes that you worked in the past? Any more, like any little stories you might have that are interesting?
I mean, I got a lot of good stories, but one of my favorites is Hidetada Yamagishi. He was one of my first, and my original coach hooked me up with him. He was really good friends of Hide. Apparently, when Chris Faldo, the Hawaiian Hurricane, would go and pose in Japan, he would stay with Hide before he was a pro. And then
Mm.
Hide just blew up. And at one point, Hide was taking ninth at 225 pounds in the Open Olympia class, getting paid, bro. Like 30K was ninth place. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So he could win more in ninth place in the Open than Flex Lewis was winning as the champion in 202 at the time. So anyway, Hidetada was fucked up, bro. Everybody, any badass therapist, any badass coach I ever worked with, always said Hidetada was beat up. He was always broken. And when I got to Hawaii, my boy Chris is looking at my machine and he was like, "Holy shit, I think you could help Hide. You should call him. Would you want to go help him?" I was like, "Yeah, bro, set me up." Dude, that night I was on the phone with Hidetada, man, and he was like, "Dude, I'm down." He was getting ready for an Olympia run. He qualified in Japan, and yeah, I went out there. That's how I got to Vegas, and I started with Hidetada, Iris Kyle, Joe Eno, some decent pros. Iris Kyle was the queen, and she was always so generous and so wonderful to me. She's kind of a peculiar person, so she doesn't let anyone touch her. And he vouched, and she saw what I did. She got a good energy, and I became her body worker from there. But from there, I got Latoya Watts, and we took a run, you know, ended up taking fifth. She had a real problem, you know, medically and stuff, but we still did really good. Nice comeback. The class kind of evolved. Shanique Grant I worked with, and we ended up kind of getting robbed, but she was a defending champion as well. You know, I worked on Rafael Brando. I've worked on Jose Raymond. On Yuguin was one of my favorites. He's kind of he's a really well-known bodybuilder. One time, On was Vietnamese,
Mm.
beautiful man, just crazy. On his belt, you know, his name is spelled AYN,
Mm-hmm.
and on his belt, he said he made it right, a Cardillo belt. My name is On ANN, you know, because everyone would misspell it, Yuguin or something. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
hilarious. But yeah, I worked with On. I worked with a lot of men's physique pros. You know, tons of bikinis out here. Yeah, Whitney Jones was when I won a couple Olympias with her as her body work. Sydney Gillen. I think I won 3 Olympias with her as a body worker. And she had like severe scoliosis. If you look at the pictures from the first Olympia to the fourth, there was no Scully, bro. We got rid of all of that. And that was even
Wow.
before I had a machine, right? It's just manual work, distracting and homework and making suggestions, you know. Their coach was very, very good to me, and he allowed me a lot of leeway and a lot of pull to make calls and help give them advice.
Yeah.
He would send in the new ones and be like, "Hey, just bring a notepad and paper, grab what you can. You know, I want you to do everything he tells you to do, right?" So but yeah, no, Dusty Hanshaw was one of my guys for a long time. We had a pretty bad fallout, but he was my guy for 8 years, man. And he had a lot of problems, and we were able to get him set up where he could deadlift 800 pounds every week, no problem. So I don't know. I've been very fortunate in my career, and working at that high level was probably like one of the funner things I've ever done, but it was also the most productive because they have very specific problems and there's money on the line. So that
Mm,
pressure, it really, really creates like something special, right? Pressure
mm,
creates diamonds. And for me, like all that pressure is like I'm obligated to do a good job in service. And because I lacked so much fulfillment in myself and in my own life, I really relied on that work and that quality of progression and that product I was creating to give me my value, right? So
mm.
yeah, I've been blessed, bro. Really blessed.
That sounds awesome, brother. What are you got any future plans for yourself? Anything you're kind of like aiming for? I know, I mean, you've kind of teased and joked around about you making a comeback, competing again. Maybe is that something you're still trying to do? Or
Yeah, man, even as a competitor, and I see it with the older guys too, they have no chance of ever competing, but they're still thinking about it, right? So I'm 37 now, so I can do masters. I know it's fucked up. I still got a decent physique, but I post stuff every so often, but to me it's shit. It's crap. But
I
again,
think
I
I think we
struggle.
all say that because we know we've been better, bro. But it's crazy how lean you stay, bro. Like you are definitely blessed on the lean side. I think if you could get back to eating your food, I don't see why you can't put on some tissue
No,
again,
and
bro.
it's the colonitis has gotten a lot better. I've done a lot of biohacking. I think I was telling you today I spent $41,000 last year on services,
Crazy,
right? And that's
crazy.
whatever. I didn't even realize it, bro. I really didn't.
I
It's
mean,
not
they
like
say
I was
LeBron
like
spends millions supposedly, or a million, right? LeBron James, something like that. Like the
it
story.
was some
Yeah,
shit like that. Apparently Russell Wilson and LeBron James, they both spend like 1.2 to 1.6 a year, and they have their own team of guys like me that follow them around, right? So it's no joke. It's kind of the difference between first place and second place and
and
first place and
longevity.
fifth place. Oh yeah, longevity, the body weight. And when you're getting paid that kind of money, bro, God,
Yeah,
who knows what LeBron really makes? Like it's got to
yeah.
be millions a day, bro. Like it's Michael Jordan makes millions a day.
Like you say, he probably has these people living in like a guest house or something that come in like every hour or so, and like
Bro,
fucking
I
body
mean,
work
dude,
on him or some shit.
I've always had a dream of some big dog picking me up. And I've had some NFL guys fly me out somewhere, right? I'm always like, yes. And it's always like, whatever. It's just like, a couple times, people will come in for a season or a reason, right? And don't get me wrong, it's great. I level up. It's fun. It
Still
gives
learn
me a lot of
plenty. Yeah.
value. Yeah, they pay really well at that level, right? Bodybuilders don't pay. So I always joke, when I work with Shaban, like, dude, he takes care of me. I get a lot of shots. I learn so much. I get to work with these high-end coaches, but I basically get paid in cookies. Um, you know, I, I love OCD cookies, but I can't do that shit all the time, right?
Yeah, no, you can't really more than one cookie a day, if that.
Dude, I know I can't. It's like give me colonitis again, right? I got colonitis and I get paid in cookies. But yeah, no, as far as plans, man, I'm really working hard to get back to a place where I can start a prep or at least see where I'm at. My body's taking, the compounds better, the food better. Just hammering things out, man. And this last set of therapy I'm doing something called the Superhuman Protocol. It's a microcurrent combo with a high-end red light with the Live O2 trainer. Live O2 trainers are basically like mini hyperbaric chambers, oxygen therapy, and you're on a treadmill and this dude is periodizing your oxygen. So it's rough, bro. He's like starving you out, but that drives the oxygen into your tissue. So 15 minutes on a Live O2 trainer is like 15 hours in a hyperbaric. And I'm 175 hours deep into hyperbaric therapy. It reoxygenated my brain, fixed a lot of my tissues, helped my joints kind of get in play. That makes the peptides work better, right? So I'm almost out of excuses, So I'm really hoping to maybe get back into it in the wintertime or maybe even as early as next year.
It's awesome, brother. I mean, you've obviously put in the work, you put in a lot of money, you put in a lot of efforts. I've been following you obviously for a couple of years. I see all the stories about you in the chambers, you doing this, you doing that. You've always been very
Right, right.
you've been on top of it. You've been doing everything necessary. And that's another part you've taught me was the whole biohacking aspect. That was the reason why I couldn't. That's also part that helped me with the sleeping. Is you sending me to go to the
Oh
cold
yeah,
exposure,
yeah,
the
yeah.
red light therapy, like all that stuff, and a lot of the best I think qualities I've picked up for my bodybuilding and my longevity is because of you. You know what I mean? Straight
Well,
up.
and even that, I had the privilege of going with you that one time. Your boy gave you the keys, and you had your whole team in there, bro, hustling, and we were walking them through it, man. It was good
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah.
So if in the end it's just, if you feel like shit and you're winning everything, you're not really gonna have a good time, bro. You're not gonna stick with it. You're gonna go down and bad, bad. So at the very least, with the recovery modalities, we're very blessed in Arizona to have access to so much. Like it is a seriously progressive state in that, because we got a lot of pro athletes living out here. The
Mhm.
property values are, it's the perfect weather. You know, people are coming out here for bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. Like, it's a destination place. So we're
Mhm.
so lucky to be a part of it and have access to it. So it blows me away when someone doesn't even know how to foam roll, or, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you don't even know that it's sitting in the dry sauna that's free.
Well,
So
I
you
think
got to do
also,
something, man. You know, you
yeah, I
got
think
to
a
do
part of
something.
that. Yeah, I think a part that plays in that is sometimes genetics are like so good for somebody that they don't have a hiccup till like they're in it for 10, 15, 20 years. You know, I
Right,
unfortunately
right.
had my first hiccup a lot sooner. And then that's kind of what's made me take all my little stuff much more serious, you know, because I think it's like you said, when something bad happens, you realize, okay, I'm not invincible. I can't just keep getting away with what I did before. I gotta
No,
take
and,
this.
and that happens too when everybody's giving you clout, bro. I'd be training, I'd take off my pump cover, and this is 10 years ago, but people will come up to me like, man, you have such a beautiful physique, right? You're so special. Or some judge pulls you aside, like, bro, you're gonna go pro, you need to go compete, you know, and you just start believing the fucking garbage, you know what I mean? And yeah, you just start slacking, bro. You don't take your supplements. Oh, I don't need that. Some clown tells you don't stretch, you know, don't do cardio, but it's all the basics, man, you know. And I think right now the social media era, there's quite a bit of misinformation out there. There's a lot of fake gurus. And you know, I try not to let it get upset because I can charge more because I actually do something legit.
Hmm.
You know, just come to one session, I'll prove it. I even offer a money back guarantee, and I've never had to give no money back. I actually refunded one dude like 7 or 8 years ago, but it's because he really pissed me off and I didn't want to work with him. I just paid him off. Get the fuck out of here, you know?
Yeah.
That's the one thing. So that being said, I track my conclusion rate and whatever. I'm concluding at 96% right now, in the average of 3 sessions versus the acceptable PT modality at a private PT office, like private sector, high end shit. It's 20% in 12 weeks. So right
Yeah.
now I'm operating at a ridiculous rate as far as what we're doing. But a lot of that comes from the devil's in the details, right? Giving them the extra, hey, this exercise needs to start being done because this part is too short. You need to make this part long. Here are the stretches you need to do. Here's how you do the stretches. You watch them, you correct them in stretches. And it's like, dude, it's just all been lost in translation. It used to be normal and it used to be fine, but you got trainers selling training that don't know how to train. It's a straight up epidemic, bro, and selling crappy gear, you know, like they're making money on it. And you can't, you know, as a dog, man, I ain't gonna ever dog on somebody trying to make some money, dude, especially for your family and shit.
Mhm.
But there's integrity in it, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there has to
There's
be. Yeah. Yeah.
you have to the best salespeople come from selling with the client in mind. So you're not
Mhm.
going to oversell them a national membership if they're just in Arizona. You know what I mean? So it's like then you get the referrals, right? And
Mhm.
everybody's happy. The best sales are when everybody wins, the seller and the buyer, everybody's happy, right?
Man, that's how I built 99% of my coaching business, all referrals. Like I don't post much. I'm not good with the advertisement. I'm not good at reaching out to people, but it's like you usually treat people right. They're gonna end up referring people to you. And it's just kind of like a self-revolving
Yeah, no, and
circle. You know what I mean?
your guys win a decent amount on the regional level, which is actually pretty funny, dude. Like,
Yeah,
you know, you
I
got
did okay
another
with some
coach you
people.
do podcasts with, and his people don't win very much. And yeah, he's like, you know, talking about his pros and stuff. But I was like, come on, man. Like, Lou, you've won a few overalls with your people. And it's pretty consistent. Every season, there's a different guy, maybe the same guy here and there, but every season, there's a different guy that wins class. Like, I remember when I first met that kid, Brian, the kid with the vacuum. You
Mhm.
know, he's pretty little, but bro, his vacuum is sick
Yeah.
and he knows how to post, right? He takes it
Mhm.
seriously. But in the off season, I saw him. I was like, "You're like, oh yeah, Brian's gonna be a pro someday." I'm like, "No, he's not. What are you talking about?" But yeah, no, it over the years of watching your guys,
Yeah.
I've been thoroughly surprised, and I'm always kind of like, "Hey, that actually looks pretty legit," you know. Building into national status, just like you know, is another level.
It
But
takes time too sometimes. Yeah.
to win on the regional level consistent with nobodies, you ain't getting no high end clients. You
Yeah.
ain't getting the kids that can afford a $500 program. So they're just hustling. And most of the time, from what I know, you've actually trained them yourself for free. So there's a lot
Some of
of
them I have.
extra you
Some
have
of
to
them I have.
do.
Yeah. Mhm.
A lot of extra you got to do as a coach to be
I do,
successful,
but it's
even on the
also kind of
regional.
what you've done for me, bro. It's like you don't do it for free. I pay you, but there's a lot of things you're doing for free for free aside from my session. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think
Make it work. Make it
when you
work.
get that involved, bro, it happens naturally. But one thing I do
Right.
love is that most of my peeps that I did start with all started for me with like from their foundation, from their start, from the get go. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I was like kind of the first coach. Like obviously someone that you met at one point, Jaime, like he was like my
Mhm.
first client. He followed my lap. He worked with me for a long time. And a lot of people knew me because of him as like a coach because they saw me kind
Mm.
of blossom him. You know what I mean? And also the best thing is
Right.
I was never one of those coaches that had to make my guys take a bunch of gear. I wasn't ruining their lives. I wasn't, and that's another part. It's just people I don't feel get invested enough. And
Yeah.
you, yeah, dude, just yeah.
No, again, Lou, I'm not like that with everybody, bro. And
I know.
like I'd hate for another client to watch this, be like, hey, you're not like that with me. You're kind of a dick. And I'm like, well, you haven't earned it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
I
kind of
know,
like I
but
give it where it's deserved.
yeah, but what I will say though is you're 100%. Even on the very first session I came to see you, bro, like you immediately gave me some results where I felt better. And I remember so much I kept telling you like, "Oh, do this." You're like, and I remember the first two times, or maybe the first one time you did it just to like please me, and then you're like, "Dude, that's not the issue. Let me show you what it is. Let me do this, and then tell me after how you feel." And the next day I was
Right.
like, "Oh shit, dude, this is firing on its own." And you worked like on my
Right.
foot or something. I was like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
but it was,
ankle. The
but
ankle.
but I would say that to whoever does reach out to you is give him faith, give him trust, even if you don't know him. Let him do his work, and I promise you, you will see the benefit immediately. It was because I've worked with
you
other
know,
people that are just as like accredited, or maybe a body work person over here, and they did a lot for me, but it was never like something so immediate. Like it's very crazy, bro. Like I said, I
right.
would go into
Right.
the next session, I would feel what you were telling me to,
Well,
but it's also because made
that's
the
what I was
homework
just
and everything you do, yeah.
Well, that's what I was just talking about was the percentages, right? So I'm concluding at 96% at what you're hiring me for within 3 sessions versus the industry standard is 20% improvement in 12 weeks. So you have to sit around and wait and you got to do a bunch of homework. You got to keep coming back. I've gone through that system. I'm still in that system. I don't have someone differentiating for me at the rate that I am. So I pay multiple services to do that. So I learn a lot in the manual system, which I'm fine with. I'm cool with them. They do a great job. My girl is a phenomenal manual dry needle piston. She piston on your back, and it's like pretty damn instant. She's one of the best. And even that, bro, I still need a ton of work. 41K on top of all the free shit, right? So, the way I look at it, it's impossible to get done in that manual modality. And like, don't get me wrong, if you can have some success, great, more power to you. But the average person just gets fucked. It's not a good place for bodybuilders to be in, and they don't even know what we're doing. Most therapists don't know how to train. They haven't experienced that kind of hurt. They haven't experienced that kind of tightness. So when you're describing it to them, they're not going to go and stack 7 different modalities to try and fix it, right? They don't take it seriously. For me, like I told you, and it's bad and it's good. Because I lack some value in myself, I really lean on my work and my clients to give me that value. That's how I go to sleep at night. That's how I'm okay in real life. That's why I'm still here, is because of that level of work that I'm able to achieve with my clients. And I'm good at the other stuff, but what I'm really good at is getting my client to believe, to educate my client. And if you believe, you're going to be a lot more likely to do the extra and do the extra. So that's why I said in the beginning, I was like, man, like, yeah, I do a lot, but you got to do the work, bro. I can't make you drink the water. I'm going to lead you to it. I'm going to kick you to it. I'll push you to it. I'll do whatever I need to do to get you in there. But in the end, if you don't want to drink, that's not on me. Right. So the best thing I can do is educate you to why that water is so good, why you need that water. Right. And then you're going to be more likely to do it on yourself. And then over time, my job gets easier. The results quantify kind of builds on it. So I don't know. My goal, especially for Shaban, right? I got the pictures, we got all the proof. Dude, watch how much he puts on in the next 27 days at that Arnold. It's a fantastic stage to showcase the work, and he's down to help me too. You know what I mean? So it all works when we're all helping each other, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, the ultimate goal for a bodybuilder is either get the Olympia stage or the Arnold stage. So whatever ends
It's
up
almost
happening, man,
equal.
it's such a privilege to get on that stage, regardless. Like it's such,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's
You look
amazing,
at all
bro.
the you look at all the money Jay Cutler made just winning Arnold's. He had like 3 Humvees, bunch of Rolexes and shit. He still has the Humvees, he says, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
he was taking second at the Olympia, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but Ronnie was smoking him for years, right? But Jay made his name winning all the Arnolds, bro. That was the thing, you know what I mean? So um even that, like Nick Walker skyrocketed after winning the Arnold, right? Even though he lost it a year later, he's still probably the most talked about bodybuilder ever. People are paying him to be on their shows. People are paying him everything, and I don't even think that guy's ever had a real job. Apparently, he worked at the front desk of a gym of Matt
You see?
Jensen's gym for a
That's
couple
about it.
weeks, and he had to fire him, bro. He didn't do very well. He couldn't answer. He'd be eating his food apparently. He'd be
Yeah,
eating
phone
his
ringing and
food,
shit.
and the
People
fucking
trying to check
phone's
in.
ringing and shit. He's like, "No, I gotta eat, bro." Like you're like, Matt's like, "Dude, come on, man." Like, but anyway, bodybuilding can be very lucrative these days, especially if you're good at content and you don't have any shame. You can go ahead and post whatever you want. Like a lot of that is just being consistent. Um, but I don't know. Not everyone's like a machine like that, right? Like a lot of us have multi aspects. You can't just, if I did just one thing all day, bro, I kind of burnt out on it. So that's kind of where I like, okay, I was good at training. Okay, let's do some body work to make the training better. Okay, let's do some band and distraction to make the joint better. Okay, let me learn how to do some cupping and scraping and whatever to make this better, stretch therapy to make this better. So as you get better at it, you want to kind of evolve that result, right? So same thing with bodybuilding. That's why we all start gear. Hey, this is awesome. I'm growing. It's great. Good to get a pump. But as soon as you start as a manager, dude, it's like there's no going back, bro. It's impossible. You know what I mean? So
Man, that Anadrol, I'm pretty sure is what did me dirty. It's what got my inflammation up. But I
yeah,
was
yeah,
stupid. I was
yeah.
post show. We've talked about that already.
No, listen, I have this weird belief that if I was directing you and I had you, bro, we could have
Dude,
fucking
I
made
know.
that work.
I've
Right?
already said that to so many people, bro. I know I wouldn't have. Like, and dude, the stuff I was even doing, like, if I had a client doing that, I'd be like, yo, what are you doing? Chill out. Like, stop. Like, you're stupid. Like,
Yeah,
but for some reason in my head, like, sometimes we look at ourselves like, oh, I'm the exception. Or like, we just get so into it. Like, oh, I don't know. I felt like the season ended so badly for me, like, that it
yeah.
was something I was trying to
The chip
overdo.
on your
It,
shoulder, you're
yeah,
trying to
yeah. And
get
I was
back,
like,
dude.
yes, exactly. And I was like, that, why even do that? Like, I obviously caused this injury, but the injury did, one, again, not being cheesy just because I reached out to you, but it made me do that. It got me closer to my family. Like I've always been really close to my mom,
Yeah,
my
dude.
sister. But being
Yeah,
here
man.
again, being around them, being in the moment, being present, enjoying Christmas, like having drinks with them, like that, none of that would have happened if I wasn't injured. So as shitty as it was, this did some good for me, and even made me go do something in Sedona that obviously I talked about the 5-MeO DMT, and I've
Yeah, yeah,
noticed,
yeah,
bro, it did something to my brain where like I've noticed things I normally would react a certain way, I'm not. That maybe not
yeah.
like I'm catching myself. It's like my brain's recalibrated. It's like instead of getting a little more at the emotional or like saying something, like it's just like I have something that stops me. It's like, hold on, Luis. Hold on, Luis. But so I'm
Yeah,
like, all
no,
right,
and
well,
that's what it's consciousness, bro. Like when you're able to work through traumas and working through traumas, you got to kind of talk about it a little bit. And
mhm.
for men like us, we're not necessarily very vulnerable. We're taught at a very young age, like you're weak if you're vulnerable. And don't get
I
me
think
wrong, you
that's why
can't
I
be
cry so
vulnerable with
much
everything,
now. It's because I never cried
bro.
as a kid, and now it's like I get emotional for everything, bro.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. Apparently, crying is like your way of releasing in your nervous system, and it's okay. Now, there's a certain
Yeah, I
percentage. We were
cry.
talking about one of our boys that just cries all the time. You're like, bro, you got to pull this shit together. You know what I mean? Like, come on,
Yeah,
man. Like it's okay to cry. It's okay to show emotion,
yes.
especially when you're communicating. But just to fucking cry and get attention, like that's not a good way to
Yeah,
do it either, right? And
yeah.
but yeah, like women cry because it's like a defense system. Like apparently, if we hear them crying, we naturally like our aggression drops by
Mhm.
90%. It's a great diffuser. So
Yeah,
some women have
yeah.
figured that out as well. I've been with women who cry and all of a sudden I can't hold them accountable. I forget why I'm upset, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, are you okay? Let me help, right? And but I don't know. Um, but yeah, no, it's really good to regulate your nervous system. And when you have stored trauma, these are the people who have a lot of imbalances. I've even, me, I've gone as far as I could, bro. I found devices, microcurrent specifically, to be able to signal the cells, sending a direct current signal, a PMF current. It's really quiet currents, kind of how our brains work and governing things. But you can literally reprogram cells. And what I really got into it for was the emotional component, depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, gratitude, even Jesus consciousness. You know what I mean? Like Jesus resonates at 77 and 12 or something. And if you run these currents at certain points, you can literally signal the cell into progressing through. And that's how I fixed my colonitis. That's how I fixed Julian's colonitis. That's how I'm burning out acne. If you got a bunch of acne and your skin looks like shit, we can get rid of that in a day or two, bro. It'll scab over in 48 hours. So microcurrent is profound, but what I really found that if I can get a client and build them a champion and build them out of joy and gratitude and being in the moment and being present, man, it is a profound effect on how well they compete and where their physiques look like or what they perform in. Also, like they're easy to deal with as opposed to some of these other kids where it's impossible, bro. Like it's just they're gonna fail everywhere, and we watch them fail over and over again, not just with me, right? One thing I've kind of figured out over the years too, and especially this last year, I've had the least amount of bullshit ever. I've stayed clear for most of it, outside of one instance, and even in that, it's kind of like, like trying to go back to why I helped him, why I did so much for him, right? Trying to get that value in myself. And I'm a sucker for a broken motherfucker, right? Because I feel broken. And let me treat this fool how I want to be treated, right? And build him up and give him all that support. And they start expecting it, and now they're not grateful, and their true personalities come out. And you kind of start seeing why they have so many problems, right? It's like a narcissistic kind of view on things where you have a very privileged mentality. You think you're so special, and it's so weird because, like, yeah, the same kid is crying on his IG and talking about, it's crazy. You know what I mean? So it's like, all
Mhm.
right, I don't know if it's necessarily my fault, but what I did learn from that is I need to really work on value for myself, putting myself first, and that way I can take care of my people even better, and not lean on them so much for my own happiness, right? My relationships, my dogs, whatever it is. So in the end, like, how you were saying, like, oh yeah, this injury really put me in a better place. It's like, dude, I keep saying, like, what I'm talking about earlier, God brings his strongest battles or his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers, Isaiah 57:14. And it's not all of it, not everyone can handle that animosity and come out on the other side, able to help everyone else. So I truly believe that's like my path here, and like I'm okay with it. It's no matter how hard it is, or no matter how many things happen, or no matter how much I lose, I'm being paid back tenfold with whatever I'm getting, and it's like not like storms don't last forever, right? So I don't know. I've been on both sides of it, and I'm just happy to be able to direct my homies and help them fulfill their dreams, and kind of vicariously live through them, right?
Yeah, man, I'm the same way with my people do. I get so passionate into it because I lived through them, bro. Even if I was competing, wasn't competing, I don't care. I get into it, bro. I start yelling on stage. I'm telling them, hit this, hit that. But that's because we
Yeah,
also just love this purely, bro. We have like a pure love for bodybuilding for what it is.
right.
Obviously we want to build our business, make money, all that stuff. But there's a lot of other things that me and you don't even get involved with because it's just kind of the bullshit that's come from the
Yeah,
industry, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um,
And some of those people really need that stuff too, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of gay for pay, and there's a lot of weird stuff, and it's like, hey, man,
OnlyFans,
I
yeah,
ain't
do
judging
your
nobody,
thing, yeah. It ain't my
Me
job to judge.
personally,
Yeah.
I don't mess around with OnlyFans clients, and I don't mess around with any of that stuff. You want to do orgies and date 5 people, that's cool, but this isn't a place that you're going to do well at. Now, you can call me prejudiced or what, but you are who you hang out with, right? So I really focus on keeping it clean, or helping those people after they're done with that phase, right? You know what I mean? And but
You are
either way,
you are who you hang out with, bro. It's not cheesy. It's like you have five friends, like to say you have five drunks. Guess what? You're the sixth drunk. Whatever
yeah,
that
yeah,
saying
yeah,
is. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
100% true, bro. Yeah.
You get desensitized a little being in different situations. It's just like drugs too, man. Like, you get to this point where you're just eating Anadrol like Skittles because you're hanging out with a bunch of guys doing that shit. It's just everybody's casually cycling. But there's a real epidemic in it. And listen, like, I don't know, you hate me if you want. Maybe you're gonna shit on me for this if you're listening to this, but just because you compete and you take a bunch of drugs and you have a bunch of Gymshark wolf clothing, you got the fucking alpha backpack bullshit, with your patches on it. That don't make you no bodybuilder, man. You know what I mean? Like, bodybuilding is about bettering yourself, building up your community, grinding in with your boys, and it just really is about camaraderie and family. And if you look at that old school, it's not what it is anymore. It really does break my heart. But what we're trying to do in my corner is trying to keep that part alive, man. The fun part of bodybuilding and the fulfilling part, and keep everybody as safe as possible, and get them to the right professionals to fix the things that they need, man. It is what it is.
Yeah. And I know earlier we were talking about it, and I know you're more of like you think it's too late to bring some of that back, but I'm still a believer, bro, that we can still control that. I think we can still play a big part in that. I've done as much as I could in my clients, and I feel like the more people will see is what you're doing with me, because this I'm giving all the credit to you and God. This one, whatever
No,
happens
I
up
get it.
happening moving forward, dude, it's all you
I get it.
guys. And I think what could happen from this could be beneficial for growing it and making it the way we want it. because a lot of my
Right.
boys would think the same way I do. You know, it's about the camaraderie, it's about enjoying the
Yeah.
process. It's not about a pro card. It's not, you know. And I hung out with some people at the beginning that made me think that way, which then ruined some relationships of mine. Didn't even realize what I was in. Didn't realize how I was treating people. Didn't realize how selfish I was. Didn't realize, you know, I was just a bad person to be around. And until you like
Yeah.
really notice that what you do, it makes you snap out of it.
Yeah, it's
But
like that. It's that self-reflection skill, right? You almost don't learn it as you get older, and even like going through the faith. The idea is like we're gonna sin, we're gonna make mistakes, but if you have a
still
personal
learning.
relationship with Jesus, yeah, you're gonna learn, dude. You're gonna feel bad about it, and then you get better. And as you get older, you just fuck up less. There's less bullshit, and then you're able to concentrate on what's important, and then eventually receive that gift. Same thing as when you get your pro card, or if you do get to that point, maybe your goal is to win an overall or win your class or just not get last. It doesn't really matter. That's a gift, right? And you gotta sacrifice, you gotta work through it. And it's a very rewarding process if you're having to work hard for it, right? Nothing is rewarding if it's just given or won. Like, you meet people who on their profile is nationally qualified, whatever. You go look up their show, they're the only motherfucker in the class. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, come on, man. Like, it drives me insane. And then this person will introduce himself as a national. I'm like, bro, I already looked you up. I already know. Like, just chill out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and don't get me wrong, like, even at a regional level, like, you won overalls at regionals, like, you ain't shit, dude. Like, on the national level, it's the next level, man. Like, you gotta rise up, right? So
Mhm.
in the end, like, I get being confident, I get being believing in yourself. But I think a
To
lot of
this
these
degree. Yeah.
these new school kids, they believe in themselves a little too much with a little too little, bro. Like, you ain't, I don't know. God bless you. I ain't like that. I'm kind of like a self-hating person, but that's what bodybuilding is. Where if you hate yourself and you're not really happy, you're gonna grind harder. It is what it is, man. Like, so if you are satisfied with your physique, hey, man, high five the fuck off my table, man. You have nothing I can do for you, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like, you got to be hungry. You got to want it, man. You got to be not satisfied and pushing for something else. And there's that fine line where if you put too much pressure on yourself, probably not going to be successful. It's no longer helpful.
Mhm.
So, the gratitude to me is the biggest difference between a champion and a regional winner or an Olympia winner. It's gratitude. It's humility. It's faith, man. It really is. So that's why I run all those currents on you all the time, man. I'm trying to build that shit, right?
No, I mean, honestly, even just having this injury, bro, and being back to what you put me to, even just to this point, bro, it's like I'm so grateful that I can go up the stairs again and not have to hop up and
Oh,
like, dude, it's all
oh
these
yeah.
little stuff. I think, but it's like it's when that happens to you, when that gets taken away from you, it's like, oh shit. Like I'm
Listen,
literally
man.
one bad injury away from never walking again. I'm one bad
It,
injury away from like
and
it's just such a weird retrospect until it happens to you. I felt invincible pretty much, bro. Because like, oh, I train
no,
smart, nothing hurts. Like, or it hurts, but like I won't ever tear anything. I'm smarter than that. I'm this
well,
and that.
especially if you go from doing nothing to like a bunch of prehab, a bunch of post-hab, you're doing ice baths, you're like, oh yeah, I'm reinforced. But it's like, dude, it just sets you up to train harder. And if you're not set up
Dude,
for it, you're
and I
not
stopped doing all
authentic.
that because I didn't have you in my life. I wasn't doing the warm ups. I didn't done cold plunges like in like a month. Like, dude, I was such an idiot, bro. I was asking for it.
No,
But
and then look, God gave it to you, right? He's like, check
yeah,
your shit.
yeah.
But yeah, but even that too, like what you're saying earlier, you're kind of like what'd you say? You're talking about we were talking about people being like too confident and too into themselves, right? But no, I mean everybody's different and we all have our own paths. From what I see in bodybuilding, a lot of us are very stubborn. We're very we have things that have happened to us and that have driven us into this space where we want that pain and that distraction from whatever is bothering us, right? So when you train really hard and you go balls out, you do the drop sets, you do the rest pause, you do the force reps, you do the negative sets, you do the abs after, you do the cardio after, you hit the dry sonic, you do your posing. Dude, you ain't thinking about shit on the ride home. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yep, it's quiet, bro. But then it starts all over again the next day, right? So it's like, I don't know. I really, 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 really do believe that a lot of us in bodybuilding need the faith and need something else. It's easy to be a lone wolf, quote unquote. But even wolves run in packs. You know what I mean? That lone wolf is a piece of shit wolf that couldn't follow the rules and he got
Yeah.
outcasted, right? Yeah.
That one wolf's gonna get its ass beat by anything else out in the nature. It needs its
Bro,
pack,
they
you know?
don't survive. They
Yeah,
don't
dude.
survive very long. Same thing
It's
with
like
lions.
it's like a
You know what I
dog,
mean?
bro. The fuck you think a
Yeah,
dog's gonna do
no.
anything to a bear? Like,
Yeah,
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 so
yeah. Dogs pack up and shit, right? And
mhm.
but yeah, no, we do really like the purpose of life is to build connection and to build community and to survive better, longer, harder, reproduce more, right? So humans are stronger in groups. And what I really, really am sad about these days and what really disappoints me about our community and about our industry is it's become very solo, lone. Even people who have teams, they won't give their people credit. You know what I mean? Like you see it a lot. I saw Melvin Anthony on a new fit the other day, or he's on a new XNR wave, some kind of current, but he didn't give any tags, bro. He just like kind of like, oh yeah, working hard. It's like, damn, dude, like somebody did that shit for free for you, man. Like, so it's like, I don't know, everybody believes in something different. I think sometimes when we're not involved in all that other good stuff that we're supposed to be, all the basic idea of being a human, it's because you got a lot going on and you're kind of consumed and there's a lot of pressure and maybe you're around a lot of people who kind of clout you up. I know that was kind of a thing for you too. Everybody's like, dude, you're the best, you're the best. And I'm like, nah, man, you need to get better, and you're like, fuck you, right? You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck ever. But I don't know.
Well, funny enough, the way we met, I don't know if we've ever talked about this like on
Oh
camera,
yeah.
is like
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah,
like
yeah.
you were working with somebody else and you pretty much checked me because I was talking about I was like I'll be going like pro or beating your client. I forgot exactly what happened, and you
Yeah.
pretty much messaged me and like put me in check, and that's how
Yeah.
we met.
No.
That's,
That's how you meet a lot of your best friends though, bro. You're a fucking asshole like that. That's how you do it. Even Sid, bro, that's how you guys like work. No, Sid was trolling somebody, one of my boys, it was Justin Miller. And I just met Justin, but I really like Justin. And Sid was trolling him. And you fucking jumped in talking shit to me because Sid was talking shit. I was like, bro, you guys are both scrubs. Like, get out of here. Like, that was so funny, dog. I forgot about that shit.
Yeah, I still have a screenshot somewhere on my phone when you had like
That's
a
hilarious.
different profile picture. It was like a logo instead, and I remember that's
Yeah,
how
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
I remember. Yeah, that's funny, dude.
That's funny, fool. But look how it all works out, man.
Yeah.
God brings people together, man. And I'm obviously very grateful to be in your grace and your presence and to help you fulfill your goals. And any client that I have that I'm hustling with, man, that I actually get to a point of being personal and having love for, I very much value that person and I value them forever, bro. They always are welcome to come back. Even when we had a bit of a falling out, we stopped working with each other. I didn't go around town telling people you're a piece of shit. You didn't go around town telling people, and like it made it okay to come back later. Like it's fine. I think too many people they need to justify their shit or not look bad, and they go around talking all the shit, and then I hear it, and then they come back and ask me, and I'm like, bro, you can kick rocks. Like I forgive you, but there's no way. Like there's no dollar amount that makes it worth it for me. You lost what makes me good. I don't care anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, like that's kind of the path people need. And maybe I was in their life to teach them that lesson, to teach them that virtue. Like, hey man, shut the fuck up, be grateful. And sometimes that happens, right? But in the end, I think if you can trust that plan that's given forth and follow that path and it is what it is, man. Like hopefully uh we don't have to keep learning that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ideally, you kind of just like second guess and you listen to your moral compass and yeah, things work out better,
I mean, that's another reason I give you so much credit, bro. I've been in that side where like I've worked with somebody, I put a lot of effort into them, something happens or a small falling out, and I know how hard it is to even like take that client back. Even just no matter what was said, no matter what, because there's so much that gets involved, like and it just doesn't feel good any type of little breakup, even if it's a small one or whatever. But I think like
Yeah.
you're saying, what helped is I never talked badly about you, even around the times I was with John. I also
No,
talk about like how much you did this for me, did that for me. Like I never took away any
no,
credit that you did for me.
I would watch your videos and at first it would bother me. Like you would be like, you talk about me kind of a lot of videos. You're like, one thing I give Don props for, he got my training on point. And it was just like a million little things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, oh no, I get what you're saying. So even when you like obviously I was hurt because you didn't want to work with me anymore, but it's like, fuck, I did my best, bro. Like, I told you what I thought.
Mhm.
Look, I'm gonna let you go through it. And the whole time I prayed for you to do well. I prayed. I was
I know
at
you
I
did, dude. I know you did, bro.
I
I know.
cheered for you, dog,
Yeah,
and I
I know you
didn't
did,
feel
bro.
comfortable saying hi,
Yeah,
but I gave you a head nod, right? Kristen gave
yeah,
you a smile, right? Okay,
yeah.
we're cool. And then when you went to nationals and it was getting a little worse, I was like, dude, I can see what you're doing. you're having fun with it. You're doing multiple sessions of cardio. And the whole time I'm ripping out my hair. I'm like, God damn it, Lou, what the fuck, right? And then, but at the same time, I was like, maybe he's doing it right. The fuck do I know, bro? I'm nobody, right? So, but
No,
then when you
man.
went and then you got the placing you got, I was like, all right, no, I see where he's coming from. At least it. Then you got really big, and then you got hurt. I heard you got hurt, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna reach out. Hey, man, come back. Let me help you. But making you work through it and getting to that point where you're authentic, man, is what it is, man. I think it makes it more priceless, right? So, I'm 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 very I keep saying grateful. I wish I had a better word,
No, that's
but
what
I'm
it is,
grateful
bro. It's
that
like
you
it's what it is. Yeah.
I'm grateful that you gave me grace to come back, right? And just like any other client I get that comes back, is like, hey, I get you had to experience the other side of it, and I hope you learned something. A lot of times they come back, they're like, bro, I learned what not to do. Hey,
Hmm.
no problem. You know what I mean? Like now we're gonna get back to work. That's also out, and it works even better because now you fucking know the value of what you're getting, right? And it's just like anything else, like man, I tell you what, I'm real grateful to take a shit these days and not hurt afterwards, bro. I never ever cared about that. I never
Yeah.
ever thought one thing about it. I never had digestion issues. I could eat whatever I want. I ate McDonald's every day for 4 years. It was crazy. I just couldn't stop eating McDonald's. It was like a nostalgia thing. My pops. Yeah, when I was really sad or when I was really crazy and I was really happy, I'd always go to McDonald's. And my order was like $18, $19 or whatever. I get a bunch of shit. Dude, I did that same order a week ago, first time in a while, a couple weeks ago. And dude, it was $26. I was like,
Oh.
wait, it's the same thing. It's up 30%, bro. Like it's
Yeah.
inflation. I was like, how did this happen, man? And but I don't know. You gotta go through it to learn it, man. It is what it is. And that's kind of how humans learn, unfortunately. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, dude, I've always had value, obviously, for your work. I never doubted it, but I think it's definitely a humbling experience when like you realize how much somebody would literally like you said, keeping me together. Because bro, like I couldn't train legs without it hurting. I couldn't do this without being like uncomfortable. I really wasn't growing. Like I know people when they looked at me at like 2019, 2020, were like, man, this motherfucker probably he's all wasted out. He has no more potential. Like I wasn't really growing. I lost my fucking hairline. Like it all was going downhill at that point, bro. And then
I remember
I
though. I remember our first show. You won your class and you almost won the overall. Like if we had a little more time, we would have fucked that shit up, dude.
oh yeah,
So
yeah, when we first met, yeah, yeah, for sure. Dude. You did a
that was
lot
a
for
good
me in
one,
that
bro.
little in that short time span too, bro. Like my legs never looked like that on stage, and you were just scraping them up and like working on them. We didn't even train legs at that point yet. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
what
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So
Well, I get a lot of people who try and hire me for training and stuff, and it's like, dude, your hip is 45 degrees shifted. Your shoulder flexion is like in a completely wrong angle. You got a winging scapula. Your right eye doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna do to train you, bro? Like, it's just gonna make it worse. So I try and talk them into some more body work, or sometimes I train them on a frequency and it just fucks them up. And I tell them it's gonna fuck them up. I'll do what you want, but
it's not gonna be pretty. Yeah.
yeah, like I would like to do something better, right? And a lot of times, 95% of the time they come back or like tail between their legs, like, no, you're right. I was very uncomfortable. I'm like, all right, well, let's get this shit right. And then we'll try again. And then when we start training again, it's lights out, bro. Like, I mean, the pumps are insane. It's super fun
Well,
for
I think
both
that's
of
what
us,
happened. I
especially.
think with all the shit that I was posting about you, all the pumps, I think that people were like, "Man, I want that," but they didn't see the year plus of you fixing me before we got to the point of training.
No,
You know what I mean?
no, no,
That was
no,
literally like a
no.
year of, I think, body work and shit, bro. Like also all because you had to fix so
and
many
and
issues.
and, and
You know
just
what I mean?
just to clarify, most of my clients participate like even to an Olympia level once a week. I see Shaban once every few months, you know what I mean? But we get 18 hours of work, accelerated work, like because the conclusion rate is 900% more, like you're going to get a lot more out of it, right? So,
Yeah.
seeing Luis once a week for a year, towards, for a little bit, we did 2 times a week. I threw him some extra time because I really wanted to do well in this. We are a little behind on some things. But either way, it is a long time to go, man. And you got to do all your homework. You got to take the supplements. You got to provide feedback, multiple times a week. We're talking, we're texting. It's a little more of a personal side of it, but you know, um, I kind of saw that with Chris Lewis Psycho. He want to give the injections, bro. He want to be in that mix. He want to cook your chicken, dude. He wants to do everything, bro. I'm telling you. Remember that time I had to cook the steak for you, bro? I don't give a fuck. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
dude.
I don't give a fuck, bro. I just want to win, dude. Like, you know
I
what I mean? I just
appreciate you,
want to
brother.
accomplish a
Yeah.
goal. But that being said, yeah, no, like I think there's a lot of coaches on the high level that do less and they have a more talented athlete, which is awesome. But if you look at the percentage, like some of these guys have hundreds of clients and they have 10 that do well. What's the percentage of ratio on that? What's the actual conclusion on that, bro? How many people fall through the cracks? How many people get nothing out of it? How many people end up in the hospital, right? But you have that 10 or so a year that do really well, top 3 in nationals, maybe get a
And they
couple
all get
pro cards.
highlighted. Yep.
They all get highlighted and all the fucking sheep file in and make it more. So I ain't mad about it because my business will always be successful. I always get those people like yourself that fall off that got screwed over. But I would rather it not happen. I really would rather it not happen. I'd rather just change that from the ground up. But yeah, like I was telling you earlier, I don't think it can be changed, bro. It's just we got to do our best and hold down our sides, right?
Absolutely, brother. I know I've been with you for a good time, brother. Is there anything you want to maybe say? Anything you want to shout out? Anything to cap it off with? Know
No,
yourself?
man.
Yeah.
Just like I said, I appreciate you always giving props to God first. Praying for each other and making sure we're taking care of each other and doing the right thing. But true love is, I guess, being able to be brave and stand up for something that's wrong and keep your guys in check, right? Now you can't just be doing that all the time. You got to support them, right? But if they're fucking it up and you see it going bad, I'd rather talk now than before, than to lose the Arnold. That's $400,000 out of our pocket, bro. Like, all right, I'm gonna say something now. So if anything, people are watching this, all my haters, thank you. I'm not gonna lie, I really appreciate all the support. Whether you like my shit or not, you're still watching my stuff and it's helping my program. But in the end, I don't ever mean to be abrasive. And if I am coming off abrasive being myself, dude, I don't want you working with me anyway, right? So it is what it is, man. You don't want to work with me, I don't want to work with you. It's all good. But again, for those of you who do want to hustle and do want to accomplish something and need a more personal effect, or maybe the standard issue of it hasn't worked, there's probably a lot of pieces that we can do better. And I would love to help. That's all I can say.
Yeah, man. Obviously, I talk very highly about you. I still do all the time about physically how much you've helped me and put me together, bro. There's another part that I don't talk about enough openly, just because I don't know if I may have the opportunity, but you did so much for me when it comes to the mental, bro. I've never had someone that believed in me so much, someone that put so much effort into me, someone that put so much of their own time and energy into me just because you see potential, just because you love me, just because whatever it might be. So I want you to know it doesn't go unnoticed. I wouldn't be here without you, brother. And I'm really, really glad I got the chance to interview you. And just let you know that I'm going to give it all I got one more time. And I think we can still pull something else special. And anyone that's
Yeah, man.
watching, I would vouch for you and make sure, like, no matter how this guy comes off or anything, man, trust me, this guy, all he does is love and has passion for this. He can help anyone. So that's all I'll say.
I appreciate you, Lou, bro. It's
Yeah.
like it's an honor to be around you and be on your podcast, bro. The first person on here was Sid the Razor. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, dude, fuck, that's elite, dude. I love
Yeah.
Sid, bro. Yeah, Sid's probably watching, man. He said, you need to come see me. I
Yes.
still want to help, right?
Yeah, Sid supports me a lot too, man. He was one of the first people when I got hurt that reached out to me right away, was asking me how I was doing. So as much as we don't even talk, that shows how much of a good person he is. And all the things we've had, our falling outs, our disagreements, never played in the way how he treats me. So shout out to
I mean,
Sid.
you gotta give props where it's due, man. I
Yeah,
mean, there's some real talent here in Arizona,
there
and
is, man.
I'm really hoping that we can showcase what we have on nationals because we get smoked, bro. We get like our overalls just get fucking destroyed, and to me, it's embarrassing. Yeah, right. Me too. I've gotten rocked, man. Like it is what it is. I brought people, who've won multiple overalls out here, and we go to some place like Jersey, and we just get smoked, bro, like bad. So I think in the end, part of my biggest goal right now is to elevate our competition status, whether that's be competing against them or helping them personally. It doesn't really matter. We're trying to make some damage, man. We don't get any respect. And like again, people come out here to our shows trying to get an
To
easy
come win and shit. Yeah.
qualification
Mhm.
fucking week out. Like that's insulting, right? Like I'm really glad I have people in that show to stand in your way. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So let the best man win, right? It's all
Absolutely,
competition,
brother.
baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for everything. Everyone that's watching, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. Go follow this man. And if you need some work, you're hurting, trust me, every penny is worth it. Hit him up. Other than that, guys, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.